Alright, we're gonna open up the carb and take a look at the fuel solenoid, probably deleted by pulling out the plunger and spring. Yesterday it didn't want to turn on me, and I noticed after a while that I'm not getting the clicking from the center of the engine. You get it from the ignition, but not from the center of the engine where the fuel solenoid is like it used to. So it's stuck or it went bad. So we're either gonna clean it up, get it moving again, or just pull out the plunger and spring and leave it as is, as most do. Battery voltage is 1231, so it will turn. It's just we have the fuel solenoid pushing up on the plunger. So we'll go ahead and remove the airbox screws here, and on top remove the air filter and go from there. Alright, so now that we get the airbox cover off, two 10mm screws, get that off. I also have a torch tip cleaner from Amazon, so we'll poke the jets too, just to make sure they're clean. So these are 10mm bolts, got two. After that we have two Phillips head screws, and then we have the front fan cover, which are also 10s. Our bolts here, which are also 10mm. Alright, we got our two Phillips head screws. We got our 10s. Now we need to unravel our vent tube for our airbox and our fuel overflow. I'll pull it out of this crease here. This little cap I flipped over so it can fit a 1/4-inch fuel line. Remove this here. Sometimes when you have starting issues with your motor, it's that bugs or mud daubers plug this up. It doesn't allow airflow, whether it's in or out from the airbox. It'll prevent your engine from starting or cause it to smoke. In a previous video I did a Honda GX 670 fuel pump replacement, and then I just replaced for all 1/4-inch line. This is a 5/16 bar, but you'll get 1/4-inch on it. So I'm going to finish removing these bolts here, all 10s like I said. We'll continue from there. Alright, we got our fan cover screws, our top bolts. This one does have a washer on it. I've lost it once, but found it. So now you just pull forward on the fan cover. And next we'll go ahead and remove our fuel line here. And then we'll have to remove our connections here to the carb. Alright, I loosened up my clamp here, which it's my add-on, so it's 6.5mm. It was a little stiff. I just remembered I have to take off the fuel pump mount. These are 8mm screws. You got one here. I think that's it. You also have to unravel this here and this here so you can get it back. And then I want to say these are 10s as well. I think those are the only bolts holding on the carburetor, and I'll show you right now to remove these linkages. I think it's just the two. Okay, we removed our pulse line from the fuel pump, and now I got to continue to persuade this off from the top of the carb. So still trying to persuade that, but I saw here, this is our line for our fuel solenoid. This was pinched up against here and the cover. Maybe that's a fail point, maybe not. This part here was up against that screw, but I don't see anything. Also, another thing, when removing the carburetor, you gotta remove this hose from the side of the inlet. Alright, I'll get the fuel pump off. If anybody's wondering, these bolts here on the back side are also 10mm. To hold it onto the engine, 8mm, 10 for the two. I replaced all the hose line with a 1/4 inch that I bought from Lowe's. So we'll move that aside. Now all it is with these is popping up these holders. Which I think I need a flathead to do. And this one, it's popping it out. Like that. And then I'm gonna pull it up. Now that one's disconnected. And you can work it out of the hole right there. I think it's better when I'm taking it off. I can remove this hairline, this hose. Just pull that back, wiggle it off. Now that's off, and then let me see. There we go. Oh yeah, that's right. You have to remove the spring that's on it right there. So I'll go get a pick and go ahead and do that. Okay, now that we have the spring off of the clamp's up. Should be just pulling this out. And now that linkage is disconnected. So then I want to say it's these 3 bolts that come off to get the carb. It's been a while since I've done it. Yeah. So they're all 10s. Last time I did it, I just cleaned out the carb because I thought that was the issue, but it was that airbox hose I mentioned earlier. As you can see, I drilled and popped these off. Didn't really adjust them. I want to say from all the way to the bottom, it was 2.5 turns back. Alright, we'll continue here. Okay, we got our 3 bolts out. So now you gotta slide it out because there is. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. I gotta remove this power supply from here. Now it's just sliding it back because that is in the way, and then lifting it from the back. Now I got that little linkage stuck. There we go. Now we removed it. And then you get your bleeder screw to remove all the fuel from that port. And then it's 4 Phillips screws to remove the bowl. As you can see, we opened our bleeder screw, so now whatever was in the bowl is coming out. So now to remove the solenoid, I want to say it's a 19mm because my 18 doesn't fit, but my 3/4 does. Just so that there's no slack, I'm going to end up using the adjustable wrench to take it off. That way I don't round off this edge. Okay, I used a 3/4. It wasn't that much playing. It's not that tight. Go ahead and screw it off. I'm gonna measure these threads, so if any of y'all want to replace with a bolt instead, hopefully I can get you those dimensions. As you can see, you got some buildup on it, kind of corrosion, little rust. I do treat the fuel, it's regular 87 unleaded, but I treat the fuel with Lucas ethanol treatment. But yeah, let's go ahead and pull this apart, show you what it looks like. Alright, so I did have to give it a little slight tug, but it's enough to like keep it in there. You can kind of see either that's gummed up ethanol or it's a little gouged. But yeah, that was definitely enough to keep it in there, not moving. The spring is still inside, so that's not loose. So either that's stuck or it's broken in there. So try to get that out, clean this up, and see if it'll move. I'll go connect it back and play with the switch. I also check that the connector's not damaged and is supplying the 12 volts that it should. Just use my multimeter in the pins. Yellow is your hot, green is your ground. Yeah, take it back. The spring's actually in here. It's towards the back. I don't think you're gonna be able to see it with the camera, but go ahead and pull that out. It doesn't look like it's moving. Just use the pick to get it out. Alright, use my 45-degree pick there to get the spring out most of the way. And that's the spring right there. Looks like it's got varnish on it. Okay, I did test the connector through the back, and I am getting the same voltage that I am touching the black to the frame and the red to the starter bolt, which is connected to the battery. So that's good. No damage here, but I need to be conscious when I route it back not to pinch it. Alright, so I measured the threads of the fuel solenoid, and we're looking at about an M12 by 1 millimeter threads. There are about 5 threads on here. The total length from the end of the threads to the bottom of the bolt hole, the bottom of the bolt, is 0.356 in length from under the bolt head to the end here. So M12 by 1 millimeter, 5 threads, total length from bottom of the bolt head to the end of the threads, 0.356. It's about a 26 TPI, threads per inch. And so if you want to replace this and just put a bolt with an O-ring, that's what you're going to need. I also went ahead and took a measurement of the O-ring, so I'll try to post screenshots of my measurements for the threads and the O-ring if I remember in the video. And also I'll look at the list of the O-rings on Harbor Freight's little kit, the variety set, and see which one it is that that one matches up with. So it looks like on a Harbor Freight kit it would be O-ring A012, which is 9.25 by 1.78. That kind of reads near the inner diameter, and it reads in between the tolerance of the thickness, because I measured the thickness front to back and side to side, since you know, it has been used and it's squished, so I have a tolerance for it in the screenshot. But Harbor Freight A012. Okay, we're gonna test it right now. loose enough to work, so that's good. So far, this is just some of the gunk I've gotten off of the solenoid. I don't know if you saw the green pieces earlier, but there was some green gunked up pieces that I was able to scrape off with my nail. As you can see right about there, there's like a gouge in it. There's also some of that green buildup on the peak. That one I used my nail to scrape it off as well. It's a little bit of like rust in between. This is not one piece. You can kind of see the varnish inside. Spring, which is a low tension spring, has varnish. I kind of clean inside a little bit of the threads. It's rust. So I'm seeing Google search that dielectric grease or silicone grease is not won't dissolve into gas. So I'll probably add a little on the outside of this. Help kind of keep corrosion from happening. I have the Sylvania one too, just a little bit. I mean the Paramex. But I also have a big can of 3M. Let's see. There you go, some silicone paste. Put some on that. Let's see if that helps prevent some of the corrosion and also sticking up. I'll keep using it as long as it actually does still work. I don't mind cleaning it. Never mind on the paste, it's just gonna slow it down coming out or going in. So I'll just clean it up. So I guess just leave it as is, not much you can do to improve it. Okay, we opened up our fuel bowl. Let's see, we got some gunk in there. Might be this O-ring. We got past the fuel filter somehow. You can see our plunger's back in. That's the plunger right there. Can't quite see it, but there's like a light varnish, especially around those holes. It's a little green in person. There's a little gunk down there behind the plunger. So we'll go ahead and clean that up. We'll take the pin out the side and pull out the float. See how the seat's doing. Probably put this O-ring back in place, or gasket, and poke through, get a flathead, take out those main jets there, and poke it through with the torch tip cleaner. I have a helicopter coming on by, so I pushed the pin with the pick on the other side a little to bring it out. Right there, the float just dropped. That's your float needle. So we'll clean around there. Right here. Now, I don't leave fuel in the carb, or at least that's what I think, because I'll go ahead and have a fuel shut off on the other side of the tank, and I'll let it burn out whatever's in here, but it still leaves enough to gunk it up a bit. Let's see if this doesn't tear. It's not too stiff. Feels stiff. There we go. You can see some of the material is from this, so that is falling apart. I'll go ahead and put it back in place over there. So this engine is completely stock minus the fuel pump, but remember, this is the front of the engine, this is the back over here. So from the front of the engine, you're gonna have on the left size 108 jet, and on the right size 105 jet, because the exhaust is over on this side, the outlet, So this has the shorter travel, this has the longer travel at the exhaust. And so right here on top you have right and left, although down here it would be left 108, right 105 from your view. So this here is the 105 jet from the right. I already took a look at 108. So you can see through it. Kind of a little crud on the inside here, but the jet's clear, nothing's clogging it. 108 looked the same. I'm not sure if you can see. I know from this angle you probably can, but you got a layer of buildup. This would be the top and the bottom down here. Just a slight little layer of buildup on it. So I'm just scraping it off with a paper towel and my nail. Clean it up some. And here we have the float needle. Center pin spring loaded. So we'll give that a test, make sure it's not stuck or sticking. Back together. You can see that center spring pushes the float back down. So if you get one of these 71-piece electronic repair kits from Walmart, it'll come with this piece with a fork that will help you get out these idle jets, which are these black things here. They're both the same size. So just unscrew and take them out, poke them with a torch cleaning tool. And then I'm running out of memory on my phone, so we'll put everything back together and it's just reverse order as you saw before. Okay, got it all back together. So either it ends here and I need to fix something, or I'll show you it running and I fixed the plunger issue, which you can either kind of clean it up like I did, or you can completely remove it and just make sure you have a fuel shut off to kill the engine.